Why are you holding on to this? Hello and welcome to the Hypertrophy Odyssey, chapter 186. It is the third day of the week, aka the Psycho Crusher workout. I am on my way to the gym right now. Bunny. I am on the way to the gym right now. I'm feeling good, feeling great, happy about that. But anyways, to the main subject matter today, which is a part 2 of sorts. It's not really necessarily 100% exactly the same, but it is the same thing that I talked about technically in the previous episode, which was, why are you holding on to this? This time, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the mentality or the mental things, the events that you hold on to. Because I feel like this one is a far deeper and more of a harder hitting thing than materialistic things. Although for some people it is a materialistic problem, such as hoarders and such like that. But mentally, we also can be guilty of doing the same things. And there is crossover there, but I wanted to stick to things, for example, that we hold on to for dear life. I think that there are some reasons why, obviously, we hold on to certain memories and certain things. But I want to get into first, maybe some of the things that I know for a fact that most people end up hanging on to. I think at least I can talk about most guys hang up on this. And that is a very cringe moment back in the day when they were either embarrassed or talking to a girl and just felt like, oh God, why did I say that? That type of thing. Or something where they instantly are going like, ooh, you know, when realizing they fucked up somewhere, having some weird emotions about someone. It's always usually particularly around a female. It's not always just that, but it's usually they end up making us, to put it easily, kind of retarded. So it happens. But we all remember a cringe moment in our life that we're like, oh damn. But then the question that I ask is, now, why do we hold on to these things? And I think the entire episode today is going based off of memories and things like that and feelings that we used to have and why we hold on to them and why is it important to let it possibly go. It's like cleaning out your garage, but mentally, basically. Let's start with the cringe moment. I'm gonna just call it the cringe moment because that's the easiest way to put it. The cringe moment is something that I feel like many people have happened. I think one of the best things I've ever seen as a meme is like when you forget, like when you're sitting there quietly and all of a sudden you remember something you did cringy in like 5th grade and you're like, Pretty sure that was a scene from a American Werewolf in Paris or London. I think it was an American Werewolf in London. Pretty sure. But still, if I find the meme, I'll put it up. But it is a feeling that I think most people have had. Not everybody has had, because there are some people who are not self-aware enough to have these feelings. But I feel like a majority of men have had this feeling. It's where you just start going like, oh God, why did I say that? Why did I do that? What is wrong with me? You know, it's interesting that it'll always pop up in your life, like that one memory will pop up randomly. But not only that, but as well as it'll pop up in the most random of times or at night when you're in bed. But bed is a whole other conversation point, really, when that's when memories come in. But still, the main reason why I wanted to discuss this, the main reason I brought this up is because these cringy moments are your memory trying to let it go, basically. For me personally, this is how I see these memories, is that you remember what you did wrong. You know it felt wrong because you're feeling wrong, right? You're not feeling good. Most of the time when you're feeling these feelings, you're like, fuck, why did I do that? But most of the time you gotta just accept that it happened and then move on and let the memory go, because although you will know the feeling of it, it's your best bet to try not to do that again. I think obviously, and usually the memory is so far removed from you that realistically your life is so different from when it happened that it doesn't even matter per se. Letting these types of things go are the easiest by far, because realistically so many things have changed since then. You know, realistically you were in middle school, you were in high school, you were fucking working a job somewhere, you were living in a certain part of the country, you were talking to a certain group of people, you were at a certain club or bar or something along those lines that make it so this situation now is no longer valid in your life. So You might as well just let it go and understand. Try to get some understanding as to why it happened and then move on from it. Because I feel like if you hold on to things like that for too long, particularly cringy moments in your life, I feel like, one, you're bound to become neurotic more so than normal because you now are self-reflecting on every single conversation as you have it to make sure you're not doing anything as stupid as this one memory that you have. Or two, you're not really engaged in what's happening right now, so that gives off the vibe of you're not really listening, so nobody really cares, that entire thing, because you're so in your own self that you're not really paying attention, which is a whole other conversation in itself because that's a whole like social dynamics thing. But to get back to the main subject, it's all about cleaning out your brain with all of the memories that you hold on to and figuring out the reasons why they're there and moving on. But we will probably go into more detail about that and a few other subject matters where you'll see where this may or may not apply to you. And we'll go through different avenues because there are more than just cringy memories and things like that that come up. But we'll talk more about that on the inside.
Started this day off with low rows, which were pretty good. They were actually really good, but watching this footage of me at the gym right now makes me miss the gym. But anyways, back to the main subject matter. Why are you holding on to this part 2? Or the mental side of things? Or letting things go, really? I think this is really a subject that I think most people have an idea of what it's like. They all have a memory and or some type of key moment in their life that they hold on to very, very dearly because it shaped them and somehow created what is considered now like maybe a character trait or a ideal or some type of thing that has basically permanently put themselves into that part of their life. Like it's just ingrained them some way or another. This is fine. Everybody has these experiences, and I think that it is relatively normal. I don't think this is necessarily something that only certain people have. And I think I want to preface this entire conversation by saying this. If you have things that you don't want to like get rid of or do some house cleaning for, or memories that are so powerful that they really will forever stick with you or whatever, that's fine. I think most of the time that there are certain core memories that no matter what we try to do with them, they will stick around with us forever, and they're always going to be there. I think that no matter how much you try to let it go or do anything like that or process them in whatever way, shape, or form that you can, they will always be there. The only thing is, you got to try to process them at a certain point or another. Let them, to use computer terminology, defrag them a little bit. Make them a little less weighted in your mind, because realistically they can be there and they could still serve the purpose, but they don't necessarily need to be there in full, if that makes any sense. I think most of the time people will hold on to memories for a long time, and understandably so. And I get it, because most people have various experiences that shape them, but a lot of people have the trouble with letting it go, really, and understanding what they should learn, because sometimes people will hold on to it so that way they remember what happened, but without really learning what happened, if that makes any sense. I think there is something there with a lot of people. It is an unfortunate thing that happens, because I think if you don't let certain things go, particularly certain memories and certain things that you're supposed to learn, and you retain the knowledge that you're supposed to learn and then let that memory go, you end up getting stuck in a weird rut where you're kind of held back in the past because of it. And I think that this happens to a lot more people than we would like to admit. And we see these things in a lot of the decisions that people make, whether it be small or large. I think that letting things go is not the easiest thing in the world. It's obviously one of the hardest things. And especially when it comes to memories, because memories are literally one of a kind, and they always change no matter what is happening, because memories are very, very, very inaccurate. That's the thing, memories are how we feel, and our adult or ever-growing eyes looking at a specific situation that has happened to us in the past. Letting things go, even though what that entails is something that is not necessarily too abstract, it is something that can be tough depending on the memory. I think a lot of people will misconstrue what I'm saying with letting go with something like forgiving and or forgetting, one of those two. And that's not the case. That's not the case at all. The case, what I'm trying to make is that by letting go, by letting the memory go, it is more of a, what can I take from this? What have I learned from this? And move on. And I know that sounds like very like, oh, that's easier said than done. And it is easier said than done. It is a lot, very much so. But it really just depends on what the memory is. If it's something, let's say cringe, let's say it's a cringe moment that you have experienced in your life, remember the cringe. Just remember the lesson of don't do this again. And then let it go. Let it relax. You can hold down. You can let the tension in your traps go. You know, you can hold the face scrunch. Let it go. Once you understand things like that, and it's not even just a cringe moment. Maybe it's an embarrassing moment. Maybe it's something else. Just take what you need to know from it and then let the rest go. It's like unclenching a fist that has been held for such a long time. It'll let you relax and allow you to be able to move forward with things. You have a chance to, hey, if you get into a similar situation, you know how to handle it because now you've learned from it, instead of having that doom scenario where you're just repeating the same situation again and you're doomed to repeat the same mistake because you didn't learn your lesson the first time because you stayed where you were at. And I'm not going to shame you if you would do something like that because history likes to rhyme. It doesn't repeat, but it usually rhymes. Whether it's something as small as cringe or something as large as a life-altering. Take from it what you need and then let it go to the next level. Just remember to ask yourself, why am I holding on to this memory? And see if it serves a purpose.
Bro, seriously, let it go, homie. And we're back. Welcome to the workout debriefing. Exercises not filmed, none. Exercises skipped, also none. Got everything in. I'm thankful. I am on the way home right now, extra tired, but still got stuff to do. But anyways, back to the main subject matter. Why are you holding on to this? Memory-wise. The main thing I want you to take away from this video, I don't know why, as if I have to lecture every time, but this is more of a luxury one just because this one is a little bit different, because people hold on to things, particularly memories of things that happened in the past, whether they be good or bad. Sometimes the bad one, even more so, they cling on to it to the point where it is a little too much of a cling. They end up holding on to it, and this ends up dragging them down and keeping them in the past. And I think that most people should occasionally go back into the closet or garage of their mind and look in to see what is holding them down from the past that they're holding on to, and ask themselves, what is this doing for me? What am I getting from this? Why do I still have this powerful emotion or whatever memory attached to this, which in turn makes me feel a certain way or another? You know, it's kind of like a self-audit as to why you're feeling like this. The thing is, I feel like people don't end up doing that, and thus their garage or their closet, it becomes full of things, and then have these memories with no real way of putting anything new, and thus they get trapped in their old ways because they never really are able to move on and learn what they needed to from the things that they had, whether it be memories or things like that, because they end up making the feelings permanent. And that's not how it works. Most of the time, what you're supposed to do, and this is like the general rule of how I see it, is that you're supposed to go in the past, look at something that happened to you, whether it be a good or bad memory or something in between, particularly bad ones, because the bad ones are the ones that we hold on to the most. But look at them and then learn what you need to learn from them and then let them go. Even though they will be tough to do, because there are some that will probably never be able to let go. I mean, obviously there are certain things that are just deeply ingrained in us at this point. They've become life-altering events or something like that. There are still ways to look at something objectively and think, what could I learn from this, and what do I need to do to make sure that this doesn't happen again, or this feeling doesn't happen again, and then let that memory and or thing go, so then that way it frees up some space in your mind. Some people like to write it down, some people just like to think it out loud, some people like to do other ways of creative outlet in whatever way you can to make sure that you learn your lesson from it. You'll see the people that end up not being able to let things go they will be stuck in the past. They will talk about the past with certain reverence, as if that was always the best time, even though for some reason their current life isn't together. But that's just because their former self, or this thing happened to me, or that thing happened to me, in which case they are just trapped there, and they're allowing themselves to never really learn the lesson that their mind wants to learn. They want to look at it as either the victim of themselves and or the troublesome nature that these issues are, and not let them go, and their brain is forever trapped in that holding cell. You could probably ask these people too whether or not they get good sleep, and most of the time they don't. And I noticed that, and that's just a pattern, and maybe we'll talk about that in a different video. But a lot of the times people who don't end up getting good sleep is because they can't let go of certain things from the past, in which case their brain just works in overtime, especially at night when we're by ourselves in bed and alone with our thoughts. And thus we end up having that storage unit that's full, and when you got that full, unless you delete something, you're not going to get anything new. So your brain is not going to want to process anything that's new. So you gotta have to let it go, regardless of whether you think it shouldn't be let go or whatever it is. You gotta let it go to the next level in your brain. Speaking about that though, there are certain things that won't ever be able to be had by that, but there are many things that can be had like that. So just be aware of what you can and cannot get rid of, and make sure you can get rid of those things that you can 100% look at and say goodbye to this memory. You've served me well. I will move you on to the next part. With that being said, tell me what you think in the comments below. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions about this one. This one's a little bit of a more abstract one than yesterday's. Yesterday's was a little bit more material, obviously. This one, a little bit more of an abstract thing. I know not a lot of people like to talk about these types of things because it's a very strange subject, / people don't really know how to verbalize what I'm talking about. So it is what it is. But please tell me your thoughts below. I'd love to know your thoughts about any of this, really. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video with anybody who may or may not like it. I will be back on tomorrow with a new video. Thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please stay safe out there. Keep it heavy. Stay warm. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace!